Joy doesn't always arrive as a feeling you recognize right away. Sometimes it shows up quietly, almost unnoticed. A moment of ease, a lightness in the body, a small sense that nothing is wrong right now. This episode is about that kind of joy, the kind that doesn't announce itself and doesn't ask to be held. For much of life, joy is treated as an event, something that happens to you, something you arrive at, something you're supposed to notice and appreciate before it passes. We're taught to mark it, to name it, to make it meaningful. But there may come a time when joy stops asking for recognition. It appears, not as contrast to pain or difficulty, but as a natural quality of being alive in a moment that doesn't require effort. You might notice it while doing something ordinary. Walking, sitting, listening to a sound, finishing a task. Nothing special is happening, and there's a quiet sense of okayness. This doesn't feel like happiness. It feels like ease. At first, you may not trust it. You may wonder whether it's temporary, whether it means something, whether it's allowed. Especially if your life has been shaped by intensity, struggle, or searching, ease can feel suspicious. But this joy isn't making a promise. It's not saying everything will be fine. It's not signaling resolution. It's simply present. Joy that doesn't ask for attention doesn't need to be protected. You don't worry about losing it. You don't try to extend it. You don't measure how long it lasts. It comes. It goes. Nothing follows. This can feel unfamiliar if you're used to joy being rare or meaningful. You may have learned to hold on to it tightly when it appears, afraid it won't return. But this kind of joy doesn't disappear because you didn't notice it. It doesn't require memory. It lives entirely in the moment. You may notice that this joy doesn't come with excitement. There's no rush, no elevation. It's closer to calm than to pleasure. It doesn't pull you toward the future. It doesn't ask you to change anything. It simply accompanies what's already happening. This can feel deeply ordinary, and that ordinariness is what makes it sustainable. Joy without emphasis doesn't interrupt the day. It doesn't require a pause. It doesn't demand celebration or gratitude. It blends into life. You may notice it in how you move, how you breathe, how you respond. There's less internal friction, less resistance. You're not trying to get somewhere else. This episode isn't about cultivating joy. It's about noticing when joy is no longer something you're chasing or avoiding. You don't need to be joyful. You don't need to appreciate joy. You don't need to make it mean anything. You can let it pass through without commentary. This can change your relationship to pleasure as well. Pleasure becomes simpler, less charged, less loaded with expectation. You enjoy what's here without needing to secure it. This doesn't make life dull. It makes it workable. There's often more room for subtlety here. Small comforts matter more than big experiences. Quiet satisfaction replaces peaks. You may notice that joy now feels less personal. It's not your joy. It's not evidence of your growth or healing. It's just something that appears. And when it leaves, nothing is lost. This can be especially noticeable after periods of grief, exhaustion, or intensity. When joy returns without explanation, it doesn't ask you to forget what you've lived through. It doesn't contradict anything. It coexists. Joy that doesn't ask for attention doesn't compete with sadness or fatigue. They can exist in the same day, even the same hour. You don't need to choose one over the other. This episode isn't about positivity. It's about neutrality softening into ease. You're not trying to feel better. You're not trying to avoid feeling worse. You're simply present with what's here. There may be moments when you notice this joy only in retrospect. You realize later that something felt lighter, that the day moved more smoothly, that you weren't carrying as much. You don't need to go back and capture it. It's already gone, and that's okay. Joy doesn't need continuity to be real. It doesn't need to accumulate. It doesn't need to build toward anything. It's not a state you enter. It's a quality that sometimes accompanies being alive when nothing is being demanded. This can feel like a quiet gift, not because it's special, but because it doesn't require effort. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to deserve it. It doesn't ask who you are or what you've done. It just appears. This season isn't about finding joy again. It's about letting joy be ordinary. When joy is ordinary, it doesn't dominate experience. It doesn't become the goal. It doesn't turn into pressure. It becomes part of the background texture of life. And when it's not there, nothing needs to be fixed. Life continues. You may find that this changes how you relate to happiness as an idea. You stop expecting life to feel good in a sustained way. You stop measuring days by whether they were enjoyable. You let days be days. Joy shows up when it does. This can feel deeply freeing. You're no longer organizing your life around emotional outcomes. You're living, and sometimes joy comes along for the ride. If you're listening to this and noticing moments of lightness lately that don't feel significant enough to name, you're not missing them. They're doing exactly what they're meant to do. If these reflections feel like something you can return to, you're welcome to stay. Liking the video helps it reach others who may feel unsure about quieter joy. And if you want to keep a steady space like this available, you can subscribe, not for inspiration, but for companionship. If someone you care about seems lighter lately without a clear reason, you're welcome to share this with them, only if it feels right. Joy doesn't need attention to exist. It only needs space.